Morning came slowly, as if even the sun was tired from the storm of the day before. Samantha stood at the kitchen window, holding a warm cup of tea. The house was quiet. Outside, birds moved between trees, and the wind carried a gentle hum across the yard. Elias stepped beside her, his steps light. He had barely slept. His eyes were focused and calm. "Any word from the council?" he asked. Samantha gave a small nod. "They called early this morning. They want to meet us at noon." "Not just me, all of us." Elias looked at her with surprise. "Even the children?" "They said if I'm asking for protection, they want to see who I'm asking it for." Elias turned his eyes toward the stairs. "That's dangerous. Someone may still try to stop us." Samantha shook her head. "They'll be safe with me. Besides, we have to show them that these children are not just survivors. They are family." Upstairs, Cale and Ro were already awake. Lily was helping Cale pick a clean dress. Ro was brushing his short hair in the mirror. Today felt different. It felt important. By noon, the family was ready. Samantha wore a simple blouse and pants. Elias wore a gray jacket with a pin on the chest, a symbol of peace from his old world. The children were clean and calm. They walked together to the vehicle. As they drove through the town, people watched. Some waved, some simply stared, but no one blocked the way. The fear was still there, but now it stood beside curiosity. Council building was tall and made of white stone. 5 officials waited in a round chamber. Behind them sat a group of observers, citizens who had come to listen. There were cameras, reporters, even a few school students watching quietly. Samantha walked in with Elias beside her. Cale held Lily's hand. Ro followed close, his eyes sharp but steady. One council member stood. His voice was firm, but not harsh. "Ms. Grayson, you asked us to grant protection to non-human children under your care. Please explain why we should do this." Samantha stepped forward. Her voice was clear. "These children are not dangerous. They are not weapons. They are not spies. They are simply lost and afraid. Their world was destroyed. They didn't come here to fight. They came here because they had nowhere else to go." She paused. "I know people are scared. I was too, but then I looked into their eyes. I saw what fear had done to them. And I decided that fear should not decide how we treat others. Compassion should." The room was silent. Elias stepped forward. He raised his hand politely. "I am Elias. I once fought in the war. I lost people too, but I did not bring war here. I brought my children. I ask not for pity. I ask for peace." Cale stepped beside him. She looked small and unsure, but then she reached into her pocket and held up a small folded paper. One of the council members waved for her to approach. Cale walked slowly and handed the paper to the official. It was a drawing. It showed 5 people too. Adults and 3 children standing in front of a house. Around them were trees, birds, and stars in the sky. At the top, in simple handwriting, were the words, "My family lives here now." The council members looked at each other. One of them stood. Her voice was softer than the first. "We have never done this before. There are no rules for what you ask. But maybe it's time we make new rules." She turned to the others. After a moment, all 5 stood and nodded. "You will receive temporary guardianship and protected status. We will begin the process to make it permanent." There was a pause. Then applause broke out from the observers. Tears filled Samantha's eyes. Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. Lily cheered and hugged Cale. Ro smiled a rare, gentle smile. That evening, the house was filled with visitors. Mrs. Dillard brought cookies and some old books for the children. A local teacher came and offered to help Cale and Ro start classes. Even a doctor from the clinic stopped by and gave them a basic health check. Samantha sat in the garden after everyone had left. The stars were coming out. The air was quiet. Elias joined her with 2 cups of warm tea. "You changed more than my life," he said. "You changed their future." Samantha looked up at the stars. "I didn't do it alone." He smiled. "That's how it starts. One person opens a door. The rest follow." Cale and Lily ran through the yard chasing fireflies. Ro was trying to build a small shelter with sticks and rope, just for fun. Samantha watched them with a full heart. Her life had started in pieces: struggles, loneliness, worries about bills, and lost sleep. But now, in this quiet moment, everything felt like it had a place. Not perfect, but real. A family born not from blood, but from courage, care, and one single choice to open the door. The day after Samantha spoke at the community center, the neighborhood felt different. Some people waved at her again. A few smiled when they saw Lily playing outside with Cale. Others stayed quiet, not ready to accept the truth. But things were not as tense as before. Elias watched everything from the window. He had seen how quickly humans could turn from kindness to anger. He hoped this time it would be different. But hope alone was not enough. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the rooftops, Samantha made a decision. She and Elias sat down at the kitchen table. The children were upstairs playing with markers and drawing books. "I want to keep fighting for them," Samantha said. "I know it's not safe, but I can't turn my back on them," Elias nodded. "You've already done more than most." "I was ready to run. You helped me believe again." She reached for a folder on the table. "I've written a letter to the council. A formal request to recognize Cale and Ro as protected children. If they can see them not as aliens, but as survivors, maybe we can build something new." Elias read the paper slowly. "This is a risk. If the council refuses, they could send patrols. They might take them away, I know," she said. "But we have to try." They agreed to deliver the letter in the morning. Samantha would go in person. Elias would stay at the house with the kids. The next morning, the sky was cloudy. A soft wind moved through the trees. Samantha kissed Lily goodbye and held Cale's small hand for a moment. "I'll be back before lunch," she said. "Be good." For Elias, Cale nodded. She was learning to understand more words every day. Samantha left in her car, driving toward the city offices. The roads were quiet. Her heart beat fast, but her hands were steady on the wheel. Back at the house, Eliza made pancakes. Cale liked them with strawberry syrup. Ro helped set the table. Lily drew pictures of a spaceship on the wall calendar. But then came the sound. A loud thud against the back fence. Elias rushed to the window. A group of people stood in the alley. 4 men and 1 woman. They wore hard jackets and carried sticks with glowing tips. Ro's eyes widened. He stepped backward. Cale grabbed Lily's hand. Elias opened the front door and stepped outside. The group moved quickly around the house. One of them raised a device and pointed it at the house. "What are you doing here?" Elias asked, standing tall. "We're here to clean up," one of the men said. "Got a report about foreign contamination. There are only children inside," Elias said. "Leave before you make a mistake." The woman stepped forward. "You think you can scare us? We lost friends in the war. We know what your kind can do." Elias did not move. His voice was calm. "These children have done nothing. If you attack them, you will become the monsters you claim to fear." But the group didn't listen. One man ran to the side door. Another moved toward the back gate. Elias turned quickly and locked the doors. He grabbed a small round device from the shelf and pressed a button. A soft blue field surrounded the front of the house. It would not last long. "Stay together," he told the children. Inside, Cale held Lily close. Ro moved to the stairs and stood like a guard. His hands glowed faintly, but he waited. He had promised he would not harm unless there was no other choice. Outside, the group started hitting the side wall with one of their tools. Sparks flew. The shield flickered. In the distance, a siren began to wail. Someone had called for help. Maybe a neighbor. Maybe someone watching from a window. Inside the city office, Samantha's phone buzzed. She saw the alert and froze. A neighbor had sent her a message. "They're at your house." With weapons, Samantha ran out of the building. She jumped into her car and raced through the streets. Back at the house, the front shield gave out with a sharp crack. The men moved forward. Elias stood between them and the door. "Last warning," he said. "Turn back." One man raised his glowing stick. But before he could swing, a loud voice shouted from behind. "Stop where you are." It was Mrs. Dillard, the neighbor. She stood at the end of the driveway with a phone in one hand and her cane. "I called the city watch," she said. "You want to harm children in front of witnesses? Go ahead. Let the court see what you are." The group hesitated. More neighbors were stepping out now. A few were recording with their phones. Samantha's car turned the corner and stopped hard. She ran up the steps and stood beside Elias. "You want to explain why you're threatening my daughter's friends?" She asked. The leader of the group looked around. Too many eyes. Too many witnesses. He lowered his weapon. "Next time," he said, "you won't have this crowd." He turned and left. The others followed. Elias exhaled deeply. He looked at Mrs. Dillard. "Thank you," she nodded. "I still don't fully trust them, but I trust you, and I saw what fear looks like." It wasn't them. The crowd slowly left. The children came outside, holding hands. Cale walked up to Mrs. Dillard and gave her a small drawing. It showed 5 people holding hands under a bright sun. Mrs. Dillard smiled, just a little. "Thank you, child." That night, the house was quiet again, but something had changed. The attack had brought fear, but the way people responded brought something stronger. Courage. Elias looked at Samantha. "You were right to speak. Now more people see." Samantha nodded. "We're not done yet." But today, we stood together. And in the dark, under the soft hum of the city lights, Cale and Ro slept peacefully. For the first time in a long time, they dreamed without fear. For 3 quiet days, the house felt like a new world. The children played together in the backyard. They shared meals at the same table. Elias helped with the dishes while Samantha prepared snacks. It almost felt like a family. A different kind of family, but a real one. Cale now followed Lily almost everywhere. She copied her steps, her words, even her laughter. Ro stayed close to Elias, still watching the world with cautious eyes, but now he moved with more calm than before. He had started helping Samantha bring in groceries and even carried Lily's backpack without being asked. Everything was going well until the 4th morning. It started with a knock at the door, a sharp, unexpected sound. Samantha looked through the window and saw her neighbor, Mrs. Dillard, standing outside with a tight face and arms crossed. Samantha opened the door slowly. "Good morning," she said. Mrs. Dillard did not smile. "I saw something strange last night. I saw them in your backyard." "The ones you've been hiding." Samantha's breath caught in her chest. "What do you mean?" Mrs. Dillard pointed. "Across the street. The tall one. The boy. I saw his skin glowing near the fence. I know what they are. They're not human." Samantha tried to stay calm. "They are children." Mrs. Dillard shook her head. "They are trouble. I lost my brother in the war. I won't let something like that live next door to my grandchildren." Without waiting for a reply, she walked away. Samantha closed the door and locked it. Her hands were shaking. She turned and saw Elias standing at the hallway entrance. His face was still, but his eyes showed worry. "She saw Ro's skin," Samantha said. Elias nodded. "We need to be careful. People are quick to fear." That afternoon, more neighbors started whispering. 2 people walked by the house slowly, looking toward the windows. A car stopped for a minute and then drove away. The street no longer felt quiet. It felt watched. Inside the house, Cale sat quietly beside Lily, holding her toy and listening to a story. Ro stayed near the window, not saying anything. He knew something was wrong. Samantha sat at the kitchen table with Elias. Her voice was low. "If they come here with questions, what will you do?" "I'll protect them," Elias said. "No matter what." "I want to protect them too," she said. "But I also have to think about Lily. If someone calls the city or the patrol unit, we may not have a choice." Elias looked down. "We can leave tonight if needed." "I never wanted to bring danger here." Samantha shook her head. "Leaving won't solve it. People need to see the truth. That they are not monsters, that they are just children." Elias looked at her with a serious face. "Most people won't believe that until it's too late." That evening, Samantha got a message from her sister who lived across town. "I heard people are saying you're hiding alien children. Are you okay? You should be careful." The fear was spreading. Later that night, a black car stopped in front of the house. Two people stepped out wearing clean gray coats. They looked official. They rang the doorbell. Samantha opened the door just a little. "Good evening," one of them said. "We're from the Civil Protection Unit. We've received reports about unusual activity in this home. May we come inside?" Samantha stood firm. "Do you have a warrant?" The man paused. "Not yet. We are only here to ask questions." "I have nothing to say," she replied. "We were told you might be sheltering post-war biologicals. Do you deny this?" "They are children," Samantha said. "And you don't have permission to enter." The woman beside him narrowed her eyes. "You should be careful. Hiding such things can put your own child at risk." Samantha's voice did not shake. "Good night, officers." She closed the door gently and locked it. Her heart was pounding. Elias stood nearby, holding Ro's shoulder. Cale clung to Lily's hand. That night, they turned off all lights early. The children slept in the same room as Lily. Samantha sat on the couch with Elias. They spoke in whispers. "I don't want you to leave," she said. "But I don't know how long we can keep them safe." "We will not run yet," Elias said. "We have one more chance. People fear what they do not understand. But we can show them something stronger." Samantha looked at him. "Like what?" "Like kindness," he said. "Like family." The next day, Samantha did something bold. She went to the community center, where people often gathered. She stood in front of a small group and told the truth. She spoke about Cale and Ro, about what they had been through, about how they had laughed for the first time in her home, about how Lily had made a friend. She did not use big words, just honest ones. Some people turned away, some crossed their arms. But one man, a retired soldier, stepped forward. "I saw children like them in the war," he said. "They saved my unit. We were trapped. They let us out through tunnels. I owe them my life." Another woman stood. "My daughter played with one of them once. She told me he smiled when she gave him a flower." By the end of the hour, a few people had changed their minds. Not everyone, but some. It was enough to give hope. When Samantha came home, Lily met her at the door. "Cale made a drawing. She wants to show you." Samantha walked into the living room. Cale held out a piece of paper. It showed 5 figures standing together under a tree. One was small with a rabbit. One had lines on his skin. One had long hair. One had short hair. And one stood tall in the back. They were smiling. All of them. Samantha looked at Cale. "This is us." Cale nodded. It was a quiet, powerful answer. Outside, the fear had not gone. But inside the house, something stronger had taken root. Trust. The sun rose quietly the next day. The morning air was fresh. Light filled the kitchen as Samantha stood by the stove, flipping pancakes. Lily sat at the table drawing with her crayons. Cale and Ro were nearby, sitting silently with their hands folded. They watched everything. every move, every sound. They didn't speak, but their eyes were filled with questions. Elias was helping set the table. He moved with ease, as if he had done this many times before. But Samantha could see that his eyes stayed on Kale and Ro every few seconds. He was always alert. Not because he feared them, but because he cared for them deeply. Samantha placed the pancakes on the table. "Breakfast is ready," she said. Lily clapped her hands. "I'll show Kale how to put syrup on it." Kale tilted her head as Lily poured syrup on her own pancake. Kale copied her carefully. Ro followed after a pause. They took small bites. Their faces stayed still, but Samantha noticed how they finished every bite. Elias smiled. "They like it." After breakfast, the children went outside to play. Lily led the way, running to the backyard with her usual energy. Kale and Ro followed slowly. Ro looked at the sky first, then at the ground. Kale stepped lightly on the grass as if it were something strange and soft. Samantha stood by the window and watched them. "They're curious," she said. "Haven't been around other children," Elias replied. "They've seen cities from windows, but they've never lived like this." Samantha looked at Elias. "Do they know who they are?" "They know they are different," Elias said. "They know people fear them. But they also know I will protect them." Samantha turned her eyes back to the yard. Lily picked up a stick and drew shapes in the dirt. Kale watched her and then knelt to copy her. Ro stayed near the edge of the yard, watching the fence. His eyes moved slowly. He was always alert. The wind moved gently through the trees. The sound of birds mixed with the soft laughter of Lily. Kale made no sound, but her body moved with ease now. She began drawing faster. Ro stepped forward and knelt beside them. Samantha stepped outside with Elias. The grass felt cool under her feet. She could hear Lily explaining something about her drawing. "It's a spaceship," Lily said. "This part flies, and this is the door where the people come out." Kale looked at the drawing and then touched it with her fingers. Her head tilted again, as if she was thinking deeply. Suddenly, Kale picked up her stick and began to draw beside Lily's picture. Her lines were smoother, faster. In seconds, she created a perfect star shape and a curved line that looked like a moon. Lily looked at it and gasped. "That's amazing," she said. "You're really good," Kale blinked. For a moment, her lips moved. It was only a breath, not a word. But something had shifted. She had responded. She had shared. Ro drew something too. He made a shape with straight lines. It looked like a tall tower. Then he added small windows. Samantha looked closer. It was a building, not like any human building. It was something from the alien world. A place they remembered. Samantha walked slowly toward them. She knelt beside Ro and pointed to the drawing. "What is this?" she asked softly. Ro did not speak, but he looked at her, then back at the drawing. He placed his hand flat on the dirt beside the building shape. Then he closed his eyes. A gentle hum filled the air. It was so quiet that Samantha thought it might be the wind. But then she felt something. A warm pressure. Not on her skin, but inside her thoughts. A peaceful feeling, like a memory, not her own. A hallway. A light. A cold room. A pair of small hands reaching for help. She opened her eyes. The hum stopped. Ro looked away. Elias stepped forward. He shared a memory. It's one of his gifts. They can send feelings. Sometimes images, but only to people they trust. Samantha stood slowly. Her heart was beating fast. He showed me where he came from, just for a second. Elias nodded. He trusts you. Kale was now standing beside Lily, holding her toy. Lily took her hand gently. It was a small moment, but it meant more than words. That afternoon, Samantha brought out a board game. It was one of Lily's favorites. She placed it on the porch table and called the children. Ro looked at the game with curiosity. Kale sat Down beside Lily, the pieces were small and colorful. Lily explained the rules quickly. Kale and Ro watched. Then, one by one, they began to play. Ro picked up the pieces carefully. Kale moved her token in a straight line instead of rolling. The dice. Elias smiled and gently reminded her to roll first. She blinked and nodded as they played. Something special happened. Kale laughed. It was soft, almost silent, but it was real. A short breath of joy. Lily laughed with her. Ro looked at them and gave a tiny smile. Elias closed his eyes for a moment and breathed deeply. Samantha's eyes filled with quiet tears. This was the first time they had ever laughed. Later that evening, Samantha sat with Elias on the porch. The sun was going down. The sky turned orange and pink. The children were inside, watching a cartoon with Lily. "They're learning fast," Samantha said. "They are," Elias said. "Faster than I expected." Samantha looked at him. "I don't know what this means for the future. I don't know what's coming next. But today was good." Elias nodded. Today was more than good. It was a beginning. Samantha leaned back in her chair. The wind blew gently through the trees. For the first time since the invasion, her home felt full again. Not just with people, but with something deeper. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But tonight, under a quiet sky, they were safe, and that was enough. The next morning, sunlight filled the living room. Soft golden light touched the edge of the couch, the floor, and the sleeping faces of Kale and Ro. They were curled close together under a warm blanket Samantha had given them. Kale still held her cloth toy in one hand. Ro's head rested gently on her shoulder. Samantha stood at the kitchen counter, pouring hot water into mugs. She had barely slept. Her thoughts had been busy all night. She watched the children, their quiet breathing, their peaceful faces. She had seen many strange things during the war, but this was something new, something more personal. Elias stepped into the kitchen behind her. His hair was messy, and he looked like he had not slept either. He accepted the cup of tea she handed him with a quiet thank you. Samantha spoke first. "They slept like they were safe. They sleep lightly in most places," Elias said. "But last night was different. I think they felt something here. A home." Samantha sipped her tea and looked at him. "Can I ask you something real, something serious?" Elias nodded. "Are they part of the enemy? I mean, from the invasion?" Elias leaned against the wall and looked toward the living room. "They were created by the enemy, yes. But they are not the enemy. They were made during the war, possibly to be used as weapons or scouts. We don't know for sure. But when I found them, they were just children hiding in a broken hallway with no food and no light. They were afraid. They were not hurting anyone. I don't think they ever have." Samantha listened carefully. "You think they can feel what people feel?" "I know they can," Elias said. "They don't speak much, but their eyes tell stories. When people around them are angry or scared, Kale shuts down and Ro reacts to protect her. They are like mirrors. They feel everything more deeply than we do." Samantha nodded slowly. "I've seen that. Last night when Lily offered her toy, something changed in Kale. It was like she opened a door inside her heart." Elias smiled a little. "Lily has a kind spirit. Children can see each other clearly. They do not carry the same fear that adults do." Samantha looked out the window. The street was quiet. Her neighborhood was calm, but she knew how quickly that could change. People were still scared. Some still carried the pain of lost family members. Some had seen alien machines destroy entire streets. Even now, after years, many people could not sleep without nightmares. "I don't know how the others will react," Samantha said. "If people find out what they are, it won't be safe for them or for Lily." "I understand," Elias said. "That's why I move often. Every few months. Once someone sees the marks on their skin or the way their eyes shine at night, Rumors start. Fear spreads faster than truth. Samantha turned away from the window. I don't want to send them away, but I also want to protect my daughter. You are a mother, Elias said. You do not need to explain that. I respect it. A small sound came from the living room. Lily's voice. She was awake and speaking gently to Cale. Samantha walked toward the sound. Elias followed. Lily was showing Cale a small stack of picture books. She pointed at the pictures and spoke in a soft voice. Cale leaned closer, watching every word. Ro sat nearby, watching Lily as well. He still looked careful, as if waiting for danger, but he was calmer than the night before. Samantha knelt down beside them. Did everyone sleep well? Lily nodded. Cale was cold, so I gave her my blanket. Ro was awake when I went to the bathroom, but he didn't say anything. Cale looked at Samantha and gave a small nod. It was the first time she had shown any sign of connection to her. Directly. Samantha smiled. Would you like some breakfast? Cale looked at Elias, who gave her a nod. Ro copied the movement. Samantha stood and walked back to the kitchen. She made warm cereal, soft toast, and small pieces of fruit. She placed everything on the table, and the children joined her without being told. They sat quietly, eating slowly. Ro used the spoon carefully. Cale chewed in small bites. Lily talked the whole time, telling a story about school and how she drew a spaceship with wings made of fire. When breakfast ended, Elias helped clean up. The morning light had turned brighter. Outside, a car drove by. A woman walking her dog waved through the window. Everything looked normal, but Samantha knew things were not normal anymore. Later that day, she sat with Elias on the porch while the children played in the backyard. They did not run or shout like normal children. They moved with care, stopping often to watch birds or touch the bark of a tree. Lily led them around, talking nonstop. Cale stayed close to her. Ro followed a little behind. They're learning, Elias said. Every moment teaches them something. They don't laugh, Samantha said. Why is that? Elias was quiet for a while. I don't think they were ever taught how. Or maybe they don't know what laughter is supposed to feel like. In the lab where I found them, there was no color, no sound. Just metal walls and silence. The only emotion they understand deeply is fear. Samantha looked at him. Do you think that can change? Yes, Elias said. But only with love. And time, Samantha nodded. She thought about her life. About Mark, about the war. About all the broken things she had tried to fix over the years. Maybe this was something she could fix too. Not by force. Not by hiding. But by offering something stronger than fear. Elias, she said, you can stay here. Just for a while. I won't tell anyone, but we need to be careful. Elias looked at her with deep respect. Thank you. I won't forget this. She looked at the children again. Cale had picked a small flower and was showing it to Lily. Ro stood under the tree, watching the wind move the leaves. For the first time since the invasion, Samantha felt something she had not felt in a long time. It was not fear. It was not sorrow. It was hope. The house felt quiet again as the door closed behind them. The air inside was warm and smelled like cinnamon from the tea Samantha had made earlier. The two children stood near the doorway, not moving. Cale held her toy close to her chest and Ro kept his eyes on the floor. Elias looked at them and gave a small nod. They walked in slowly, their steps silent on the wooden floor. Samantha stood nearby, watching closely. She was not sure what she had expected. Glowing eyes, strange sounds. Maybe something alien or frightening. But what she saw were two kids who looked lost in a world they did not understand. She pointed toward the living room. Would you like to sit? Cale and Ro looked at Elias first. He gave them a gentle smile, and they moved together to the couch. They sat straight and still, like guests in a place they were not sure they were welcome in. Samantha walked toward the kitchen. "I'll make some tea, or maybe something warm for them." Elias followed her. "They don't eat everything humans do, but they can drink warm water or milk. They don't speak much. They understand, but their voices are slow to come." Samantha took out 2 mugs and poured warm water into each. She added a little honey, just in case. When she turned around, Elias was looking at the family photo on her fridge. It showed Samantha, her late husband Mark, and Lily when she was just a toddler. They were at a park. The sun was bright. Everyone was smiling. "You lost him in the war?" Elias asked softly. Samantha nodded. "He was in the defense unit. He never came back." "I'm sorry," Elias said. His voice carried real sorrow, not just politeness. Samantha placed the mugs on a tray and walked back to the living room. She set the tray on the small table near the couch. Cale looked at the cup, then glanced at Ro. Slowly, she picked it up with both hands and sipped. Her eyes closed for a second. She liked it. Ro followed her lead. Samantha sat on the other couch, leaving space between them. Elias sat beside his. "Children." The room was quiet again. Only the sound of quiet sipping and the hum of the heater filled the air. "I know this is a lot," Elias said, looking at Samantha. "I didn't expect you to believe me, or let us in. Most people wouldn't." "I don't know if I believe it all yet," Samantha replied. "But I see the way you look at them. Like a father. And I know what that kind of love looks like." Elias nodded. "They don't have anyone else. After the invasion ended, many of these children were forgotten, feared. Some were taken. Others just disappeared. I found Cale and Ro in a destroyed base near the old mountains. They were hiding. No one came for them." "What about the government?" she asked. "They know," Elias said. "But there's no official policy, no schools, no homes, no records. These children are not protected under law, so people like me, we hide them, we move often. Keep quiet. Keep them safe." Samantha looked at Cale, who was still holding the warm mug with both hands. She had not stopped watching Samantha since she entered the room. Her eyes were wide and full of something Samantha could not name. Not fear, not sadness. It was something deeper, a silent question. "Do they have memories from the war?" she asked. "Some," Elias said. "Mostly fear, sounds, running. They don't talk about it. I think their minds are still healing. They respond best to music, light, gentle voices." Samantha stood and walked to a small wooden shelf near the wall. She picked up a small device and pressed play. Soft music filled the room. A calm melody. A song Lily liked before bedtime. Cale's eyes blinked once. Ro leaned slightly toward the speaker. For a moment, the house felt peaceful, as if nothing strange was happening. As if they were just 4 people sitting together after a long day. Samantha sat back down. "Do they go to school?" Elias shook his head. "It's too dangerous. I teach them what I can, reading, numbers, some history, but they learn fast. Much faster than normal children. Their minds work differently. I think they remember things after seeing them once." Samantha was quiet for a moment. Then she asked the question that had been sitting in her mind since she opened the door. "Are they dangerous?" Elias looked at Cale and Ro, then back at Samantha. "Not to you. Not to Lily, not to anyone who shows them kindness. But they have abilities. I don't fully understand all of them. Some are mental. They feel emotions, sometimes too deeply. If someone around them feels fear, they feel it too. If someone is angry, they become confused. Have they ever hurt anyone?" "Only once," Elias said. "Someone tried to separate them, a man from a research unit. He grabbed Cale by the arm. Ro reacted. He didn't attack, but the man fell back. It was like a force pushed him. I don't know if it was energy or something else, but it scared." The man, he ran. I didn't wait for him to return. Samantha took a deep breath. You risked everything to keep them safe. I couldn't leave them, Elias said. I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I did. Samantha heard soft footsteps on the stairs. She turned quickly. Lily stood on the last step, holding her stuffed rabbit. Her hair was messy from sleep, and she rubbed one eye. Mom, she said softly. Who's here? Cale and Ro looked at Lily. Neither moved. Samantha stood. It's okay, sweetie. These are some friends. Lily walked toward the living room, blinking at the strange children. She didn't seem scared, just curious. She looked at Cale's toy, then at her own stuffed rabbit. Cale tilted her head, without a word. Lily walked over to Cale and held out her rabbit. Cale stared at it, then slowly reached out and touched it. The room stayed silent. Samantha watched. Elias did too. Cale did not speak, but she gave a tiny nod and handed her own toy to Lily in return. Lily smiled. Samantha's heart felt full and strange all at once. Something had changed, something deep and quiet. The two worlds had touched and nothing terrible had happened. She looked at Elias. They can stay for a little while, she said. At least tonight. Elias looked at her with deep gratitude. Thank you. Outside, the night wind blew gently. But inside the house, the warmth of something new had begun to grow. Samantha Lane stood in front of the mirror, brushing her hair one last time. Her small house was quiet, except for the soft ticking of the kitchen clock and the sound of her daughter Lily's gentle breathing from upstairs. Tonight was different. For the first time in 5 years, she was going on a date. It was not something she planned. A friend at work had set it up, saying the man was kind, calm, and also a single parent. His name was Elias. That was all she knew. They had exchanged a few messages, no photos, no calls. Just quiet, simple words. He seemed polite, respectful, maybe even a little lonely. She checked the time. 10 minutes past 7. Her hands shook a little as she straightened the collar of her soft green sweater. She had not dated anyone since her husband died during the Alien War. Life had changed so much. Cities had fallen, new ones had risen. People were different now, quieter, more careful. The world still carried scars. There was a knock at the door. Samantha jumped a little. She took a breath and walked slowly to the front door. Her feet were cold on the wooden floor. Her heart beat faster with every step. She stopped, took another deep breath, then opened the door. A man stood on the porch. He was tall, wearing a dark gray coat. His hair was short and dark, with a few streaks of silver near the temples. His eyes were calm but tired. Like someone who had seen too much but still carried a quiet hope. He gave her a soft smile. "Hi," he said. "Samantha?" "Yes," she answered, her voice a bit shaky. "You must be Elias." He nodded. "Thank you for letting me come." For a moment, there was a pause. Then he leaned in a little closer, his voice low and serious. "My kids are in the car," he said. "But they're not exactly human." Samantha's smile faded. Her body tensed without meaning to. She stared at him, unsure what to say. Not exactly human? What did he mean? She looked past him, toward the old car parked near the curb. Inside, she saw two shapes sitting still in the back seat. She couldn't make out their faces. The streetlight nearby flickered once, and then stayed on. She looked back at Elias. "Are you serious?" He nodded again. "I thought I should tell you before we go any further. I won't lie to you. I brought them because I can't leave them alone, not even for an hour. But I also brought them because I want to be honest." Samantha did not know how to respond. Her mind was spinning. Was this a joke? A test? Was he unstable? Or was there more to this? She took a small step back and folded her arms. "Not human? What does that mean?" He looked down at the porch for a second, then met her eyes again. During the war, I was part of a rescue team. Medical unit. We saved lives, human lives. But also, other lives. Some of the invaders created children, mixed ones. Half human, half them. Most were hidden, some were born in labs, others. We don't know. But they were left behind after. The war ended. Samantha blinked. And you took them? I found two, he said. Abandoned, scared, alone. They're not dangerous. They're children, just different. The government doesn't know what to do with them. So I raised them, like my own. She stared at him. Her mind wanted to reject everything he said. But her heart felt something else, a strange calm. His eyes were not lying. His voice was not nervous or wild. He spoke like someone who had carried this truth for a long time. Still, she asked, why did you bring them here? To me? I didn't want to lie to you, he said. This is part of who I am, who they are. If I'm ever going to be part of someone's life again, this has to be real from the start. Samantha turned her head again, looking at the car. The two shapes had not moved. She saw one small hand on the window, thin fingers, not glowing, not strange. Just still. I don't know what to say, she whispered. You don't have to say anything, Elias said. If you want me to leave, I will. I understand. She stood in silence. The cold breeze brushed against her face. Her thoughts went to Lily upstairs. What would she say if she knew? Would she be scared or curious? Samantha remembered the night. Her husband died. He had gone to fight for Earth, for people, for the future. He had believed in second chances, in choosing hope. Maybe this was one of those moments. She looked up at Elias. Can I meet them? He looked surprised, then smiled softly. Are you sure? No, she said honestly. But I want to try. He nodded and turned toward the car. As he stepped off the porch, he opened the back door slowly. The two children stepped out. The girl was smaller, with long dark hair that shimmered oddly in the light. Her eyes were large and quiet. The boy stood a bit taller, his skin pale with faint patterns like tiny lines drawn with silver ink. They didn't speak. They just looked at Samantha. Samantha stepped forward, heart pounding. The girl held something in her hand. A small cloth toy, faded and worn. Elias came back to her side. This is Kale, he said, pointing to the girl. And this is Ro. Samantha looked at them. She expected fear. But she felt something else. Sadness and something deeper, a need to belong. She gave them a small, gentle smile. Hello, she said quietly. The girl blinked. The boy tilted his head slightly. Neither moved. Samantha turned to Elias. Would they like to come inside? Just for a while? He looked grateful. They would. Thank you. As they walked toward the door, Samantha reached out and held the door open. The two hybrid children stepped into her house where a warm light waited. And somewhere upstairs, her daughter Lily turned in her sleep, unaware that tonight, her world was beginning to change.